Our sponsor today is AppWork. Best known for exceptional maintenance workflow management, AppWork offers so much more. Optimize operations with its advanced business intelligence that turns data into strategy. Simplify your operations with AppWork's intuitive platform. Service team members love the gamification of maintenance workflows and leaderboards, making everyday tasks a competition for number one. From project management to team communication, AppWork has you covered. Visit appworkco.com today.
Welcome to The Maintenance Mindset, an audio-video podcast brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Paul Rhodes, and over the more than 3 decades in the apartment industry, I've had roles that include being on-site, providing services as a vendor, creating and delivering multiple education programs, and active association work. This podcast is centered on the often overlooked role that our on-site maintenance workers play. You know, the men and women that respond in the middle of the night to the toilet call, or the after hours, it's really hot in my apartment request, or my favorite, my ring fell down the drain, get over here now. In other words, the often unsung heroes who are responsible for asset preservation and resident satisfaction. Working in multifamily maintenance provides interesting, sometimes amusing, and often fascinating stories and viewpoints. My encouragement to you is this: whatever you do it with a maintenance mindset. Hey there, everybody. Today, I thought it would be interesting to go over information that I gathered together and presented at a recent conference. You may have seen the Maintenance Mindset Minute episodes that reviewed information and knowledge from the HVAC Excellence Educators Conference. And I ended up being there based on an invitation from them to hold a town hall for the multifamily industry. And in the beginning, I thought it was really cool that they would give an opportunity for this to occur. And the more and more I thought about it, the more amazing it was to me that they would offer this time and place, because I'm not aware of another apartment focused conference that gave this much space for apartment maintenance professionals. This education conference I'm familiar with, and a lot of listeners may be familiar with an organization called ESCO. They're one of the, if not the leading refrigerant certification company in the country. I can remember back in the early 2000s when I began proctoring the EPA certification, I got my proctorship or my authorization to perform that test through ESCO. And it's through that continuing relationship with them as an organization that I've been involved with that structure or those networking opportunities. In 2007 or 2008, they began this education conference, which is focused not only on technology and how air conditioning works. It's actually focused on providing information for educators who teach other people how air conditioning works and the technology that goes into it. And it has developed into this large gathering of educators that is all focused on how to provide best education for people who need to know how to repair these systems that continue to become both more and more complex and more regulated. The end result is that heating and air conditioning is a huge consumer of energy, both natural gas and electrical, and that our workforce is continually being asked to get better and better at doing it. Now, specifically the multifamily industry, especially on our properties in the South, air conditioning repairs are one of those essential items that we look for our maintenance technicians to service. So at the 2025 HVAC Excellence Educators Conference, they set aside a room and marketed and promoted for just the multifamily industry who attends the show to come together. And I believe that there was over 50 attendees at this education conference that were representative of both multifamily industry and suppliers or vendor partners that service the multifamily industry. And we ended up having a wonderful conversation. And while I did attempt to record the conversation, it didn't work out. So as I was going through my notes on what I gathered from attending the sessions, I got to thinking that, the information that I shared and what we discussed as a part of this town hall is valuable enough that we need to repeat it. So that's what I'm attempting to do today. So on your screen, you'll see, for those of you who are seeing this, I have the presentation up that I gave in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. And ultimately, this was a time that we could come together and both frame the need for apartment maintenance technicians and also have some discussion around how we can begin to meet that need, as well as resources that are available for us as multifamily maintenance professionals. And how it begins is outlining the fact that according to weareapartments.com, our country needs to build 4.3 million more apartments by 2035. And that breaks down that as of 2023, I believe, when this particular statistic came around, between 2023 and 2035, we need to have 266,000 additional apartments built every year until 2035. Now, the reason why that struck me as a fascinating number to begin this discussion with is that those are additional toilets that need to be plunged, faucets that will begin dripping, aerators that'll need replacement, air conditioning filters that will need replacement, coils that need cleaning. All of those tasks that we rely on our apartment maintenance people to do their jobs, those are additional toilets, air conditioning system, faucets that all need service, that all need work. And right now, all of our existing stock is only getting older. As a matter of fact, according to We Are Apartments, 41% of U.S. apartments were built before 1980. That means that over 1/3, almost 1/2 of the apartments that are being used today, our stock, are over 45 years old. Think about that for a moment. As our apartments continue to age, the job and the role of apartment maintenance professionals gets even more important. I also, in research, I found out that between 31 and 34% of the households in the United States rent. And that according to their research, the apartment list research team in March of this year determined that renting is almost $1,100 less expensive than buying a home. After adjusted for inflation, home sales price have increased 102% faster than rent prices over a 54-year period. Let me say that again, just for those of you who can't see it on your screen. Home sale prices have increased 102% faster than rent over the past half a century. That is an amazing, staggering figure. Nationwide homeownership rate for the fourth quarter of last year was down over 5% as compared to 20 years ago in quarter four. And the U.S. lacks 7.3 million affordable rentals, with just 34 available rental units or homes per 100 low-income households. Now, all of these numbers essentially go to reinforce the fact that we need apartment maintenance professionals. And the U.S., we are expected to add 2 million new apartments in the next 3 years. That is the New York Times in August of last year. Ultimately, what this works out to, in my view, is that being an apartment maintenance technician is a brilliant way to have job security. I mean, if anyone in the audience right now is curious of a potential second career or maybe a side job or a way of changing their career, come to apartment maintenance. We need skilled people. We need them. All these numbers just reinforce the need for that. But we can't just have bodies. Men and women that just show up every day, that's the beginning. We have to start there. We have to educate them. One of the challenges that our industry faces is we have limited credentials. And by that, I mean that our credentials are only required by circumstance. For instance, EPA 608, the entire focus of the company that I began working with, ESCO, and they've since expanded out their accreditations and their information. But EPA 608 is a federal certification, but it's only needed if you are servicing and purchasing refrigerant for air conditioning equipment. In other words, if someone at our properties needs to go replace a contactor on an air conditioning system, they don't need an EPA certification to do that. You don't need an EPA certification to replace a thermostat or any other electrical component. You don't need it to replace the filter, to open or adjust the airflow, or even clean the coils. The only time that certification is required is if you are purchasing or working with refrigerants. That's it. In other words, it's a circumstantial credential. CPO, or Certified Pool Operator, from the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, the only time you need that is if it's required by your local municipality. And it's not nationwide. You can go to the PHTA website and find out where it's required, or your local municipality. But beyond that, there's no other required certification or credentials. I mean, CAMT, the Certificate for Apartment Maintenance Technician program, that is not required anywhere. As far as I'm aware, there's only one state that actually lists it as a need, and that's down in Florida, which if you have CAMT, you're allowed to perform a higher level of repairs without getting a permit. I mean, we have two other credentials that stack, CAMT plus E and CAMT plus L. The plus E is energy efficiency, and the plus L, that's leadership. But in both of those cases, they're not required anywhere. As a matter of fact, for a quick test, how many of you even knew that CAMT plus E and CAMT plus L existed? Chances are not everybody, because they're not widely known. I mean, right now for our industry, the apartment maintenance industry, all the money that is seen for developing, in my opinion, is headed towards technology. Ways of instituting AI or artificial intelligence and automation, different, newer, better, and greater methodologies to use our cell phones and deal with administration. That's where the development is going, from my view. And what that means is all of this revenue, all of this money, capital, is being poured into data collection and management. I mean, you've got companies like Yardi, RealPage, Entrata, ResMan. We've got apps like you're familiar with AppWork, a regular listener to the show, one of our sponsors. But there are other companies involved in that same space, and there's a lot of information that is being placed under that aspect, and there's a lot of money going into it. And you know what? We, the apartment maintenance space, we are behind the times where technology is concerned, but we're catching up quickly. And still, we're dealing with a shortage of the people that go in and do that. I mean, just recently, there are two companies that have put a lot of information for importance of the service team. Wide Whale, a sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network, and others as well, have begun to highlight that huge importance of multifamily maintenance. I mean, the one thing that really strikes me is that we continue to focus on artificial intelligence and automation, which are fantastic, and that's very, very good. I want to know, how are we going to develop the people? I mean, we keep spending money on apps, and apps are great. We need them. We, as an industry, we have to get better at our information management, at work order completion, diagnosis, and documentation. But you know what? The challenge is, I live on my cell phone. I use this thing an awful lot. The problem is, I don't have an app that runs a toilet plunger, or will be able to pull apart a washing machine and replace the terminals on the block, or even, for that matter, directly diagnose a problem in a specific resident's apartment based upon how that resident uses a specific appliance, and communicate that in an easy format for a resident to understand and converse with. Now, we do have some resources available to us to help train our maintenance teams. I have been a part of them, and I've made use of them throughout my career, and I continue to make use of them. I mean, that training technology is expanding exponentially. We have resources now, unlike ever before, that are directed towards our maintenance teams. Interplay, SkillCat, AppWork is rapidly working on training. If you're on social medias, you may have seen some of the videos that I've helped them develop. Property Meld is working on training. All of these are resources that our maintenance team members can use. And yet, whenever rolled out and talking to management companies, the continual request is, not for what a lot of our management companies are doing is using or deploying e-learning, which does have a place. The continual push is for hands-on training. Right now, we have essentially 3 national resources for hands-on or in-person training. That is Lowe's Pro, Accelerate, and Chadwell, a sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network. They provide in-person education. All of these are resources that begin to meet that need. It's the need for people and to have skilled people involved, which is why I say, based on those millions of apartments that we have to have, we still need somebody other than an app, somebody other than the latest, greatest work order organizational tool or gamification of something. We have to have a person to run that plunger, to turn the screwdriver, to grab a hold of that pipe and make physically the repair. That's why all these resources are so very important. At this point in time in Las Vegas at the education conference, I opened it up to the room and we had several discussions. A couple of them were really, really fantastic. Pablo Paz from Gables Residential, who is their education leader, brought up some methodologies that can be used and the importance of an organized learning process. But that's only internal for his company. We had other companies, Nicole from Lowe's Pro Academy was there, and she did a fantastic job of talking about what Lowe's is offering in that space. There was some trainers from HD Supplies Academy, or professional training was present as well. And we discussed how those opportunities can be taken and where to find those classes and where to find those resources. All of this came together to be a great discussion in the room, which is why I want to make a challenge, a request, an ask, maybe even just bring it to your attention. Your maintenance professionals at your communities need outside skills, knowledge, and information. A part of that rests on them to research, to be curious, to ask questions, and to use some of the resources like what we've covered. A part of that is on the individual technician, and it will always be. And at the same time, there's a piece of this that relies on each and every one of us, those of us who are leaders of our on-site maintenance teams. We have to be sure that we are bringing good opportunities for information and resources to our associates. And that's where we definitely need to begin taking opportunities like what the HVAC Excellence Education Conference provided. At your next leaders meeting, are you setting aside some time and space for your maintenance associates? And if not, why not? The overwhelming majority of management companies, they focus, and correctly so, on their office and their property management team, while at the same time not focusing on the maintenance teams. Now, I believe we have to have them both. We really, really do. And I'm not playing underserved card. I'm just stating a fact. We're going to be adding massive amounts of apartments over the next decade. We need help on all sides of our industry. The office, we need to be sure that we're developing our leasing teams with leadership skills so that traditionally speaking, they move up into our assistant manager and our property manager roles. And we need that. Is your management companies developing those leadership and more advanced people skills that our property management roles are having? If they are, let's turn that over to the other side of the house, the maintenance side of the house. Do you have, first of all, the trade skills, those technical skills being provided for your apartment maintenance personnel? How to repair better plumbing, electrical, heating, air conditioning, construction, handyman, carpentry, flooring, cement, roofing, inspection, all of those other skills that we rely on our maintenance professionals to provide. If you are providing them, great. If not, we need to add them because those skills are in dire need. And I understand we're having a hard time right now finding and filling our office side. I mean, Kelsey Corey on her recruiting podcast, she's sharing some great tips on how to find candidates, how to find people. But on the maintenance side of the house, it's even more challenging. Right now, according to MicroWorks, for every 5 people that retire from being a skilled tradesman, it's not just multifamily, but for every 5 skilled tradesmen that retire, they're replaced by 2 people. We need people, we need skills, we need resources. Thank you for joining me today on the Maintenance Mindset. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you somewhere.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Maintenance Mindset. I hope you take away ideas that apply to your current and future career goals. Please check out Maintenance Mindset Minute to hear short-form, high-impact, applicable, maintenance-centered information. Whatever you do today, do it with a maintenance mindset. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities. I'll see you somewhere.